What's up guys, Alex Wallace here from Wallace Training Systems, and this is part 5 and week 5 and how to get shredded in 8 weeks. If you haven't seen the previous episodes, make sure you go back and watch those previous episodes. If you've been following these episodes but you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? We're committed to putting out a documentary on my journey on how to get shredded in 8 weeks, as well as informative content in between. That being said, this episode is a little more candid than the previous episodes, and the reason being is because I had a lot of questions pertaining to nutrition. And with those questions, I wanted to answer them and actually give you a visual representation on what I was doing, so I just used my iPhone. So again, guys, it's a little more candid. It's a little less polished than the other episodes, but I think there's a lot of good information in here. That being said, sit back and relax. It's a 10-minute video, a little bit longer. I hope you enjoy the content, and thanks for watching. A few things I get asked since I've started this series. It's actually pretty cool that people are watching it. It's mostly my clients, but if you're not a client, then give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. But people will ask certain things, or one of them is more of a statement. Why do you look like crap in your kitchen anytime you do a video? Well, it's because it's probably before 4 a.m. and you probably wouldn't look that great before 4 a.m. either. The second thing I get asked has a lot to do with the breakfast that I make. Why is it that you use this food? Well, in general, I would say that I use minimally processed foods because it's simply more volume of food, and there can be more micronutrients and phytonutrients, which are good for your health, obviously. But in addition to that, it is simply just more food. So if you try to eat, 200 calories worth of Pop-Tart, it's very easy. It's one Pop-Tart. It's very hard to eat 200 calories worth of, let's say, broccoli. Now, while that's not what I'm eating for breakfast, I'll show you what I'm eating for breakfast. I still believe that that generally holds true. Minimally processed foods, or namely foods that take less step from their original form to your plate, typically are just more voluminous than foods that go through a lot of processing. And I think there's something to be said for satiation in terms of just, actually eating a lot of food. It makes you feel fuller. And I think that people that eat minimally processed foods not only have a slight health advantage, in my opinion. Again, there's people that say it only matters to macros, but I also think that you feel fuller longer, and that's why I do that. When I'm on a cut, I want to feel full. I don't want to feel miserable, and I think minimally processed foods usually provide that. Anyway, I do get a lot of questions about the nutrition, so I want to make this episode a little more granular when it comes to nutrition, and I hope that you find it informative. I think what I'll do is I'll film a lot of the meals that I eat, and then I'll try to put the macros on the screen. So let's give it a shot. Meal 1, we have 2 eggs and a cup of egg whites. I have 2 little tangerines and 2 cups of bone broth. Again, I'm going to try to put these macros on the screen somewhere probably down here, and this is meal 1. The unilateral lunge is a great exercise for your abs and for your legs. If you haven't seen our video on the top 3 core exercises that you're probably not doing, I'm gonna link it in the screen above. Make sure you go and check that out. You'll notice on the skull crushers that I actually reach a little further back than what is contemporarily seen. That being said, I notice if I do it this way, I get much less elbow pain. If I keep it too strict, my elbows hurt, and it doesn't matter with the weight. I could be doing it with 15 pounds or 45 pounds. So I just like to reach back a little further. It's a little easier on my elbows. Next up, we have 6 ounces of chicken thigh. Reason being is because it's a little more palatable than chicken breast. I find it easier to eat, probably because there's a little more fat in it, and I have a half a cup of green beans. I eat 2 of these over the course of this shift, so 2 of these in 9 hours, and I'll put the macros on the screen. I wanted to show every set of the deadlift because I'm actually peaking up to a peak set. The reason being is because sometimes straight sets, especially almost towards the end of my cut, can be very, very fatiguing, but I still want to get enough volume in to maintain my muscle mass. And in order to do that, what I like to do is peak sets. So I'll start a little bit lighter, but I'll end a little bit heavier. And that allows me to still get a good bit of volume in without feeling mentally too fatigued to actually complete all of the allotted volume that I had planned. Next up is a little snack. I'm gonna have a serving of mangoes. Let's say a half a cup of mangoes. I'm definitely not eating all of this. And then a cup of 0% fat Greek yogurt. This is actually the first exercise that I failed on. I wanted 10 reps here, but I only got 6. And the reason being is because as your calories go down, sometimes you get a little bit weaker. That being said, I think training to failure should be used very sparingly, especially during a cut. This is the last meal of the day. I'm having a cup and a half of egg whites with 2 eggs, 3 cups of spinach with 2 tangerines, and a little bit of balsamic vinaigrette dressing. That being said, I'll put the macros on the screen. If I still get hungry throughout the night, then I'll probably just heat up a little bit of bone broth. I imagine I'll have 2 cups of bone broth before bed, and that's my full day of eating. This is the first week where I didn't lose any weight. Couple things that need to change. The first one is I am going to up my cardio. I don't really want to lower my calories anymore because right now it is uncomfortable, but not so uncomfortable. I know that I could handle a little more cardio. I don't know how well I would handle a little less food though. So I'm going to more or less up my cardio a little bit. Instead of 30, I'm gonna bring it up to 35 minutes, keep the calories the same, but I'll be 100% transparent and I don't mean to get graphic, but you know, when your calories start to get lower and your carbs start to get lower, you start to get a little bound up. So although my weight didn't change, I think there's probably a pound or a pound and a half that's sitting in me that shouldn't be there, that definitely wasn't there last week. So I'm not overly concerned, but you know, I'm gonna go by the numbers and say, look, you know, whatever I did this week obviously wasn't enough to go down further, and I'm gonna make the adjustment by upping my cardio a little bit, keeping the calories the same, and hopefully by next week we're down another pound. And just a couple weeks left on this cut. I hope that you're enjoying it. I hope you're learning a lot. I'm trying to deliver as much content, good content, as I can throughout this entire journey. Again, guys, if you haven't seen the other parts of this series, go back and watch the other parts of the series. If there's anything else you want to see, make sure you comment down below. Let me know what it is you want to see, and I'll try to include that in the next video. This series is wrapping up pretty shortly, and I'm going to start another series. I'm going to give myself like a couple weeks just to chill out and really put out a lot of informative content out there before I do another documentation. But I think the next thing I'm going to document is a powerlifting journey. But there's a couple different methods I'm thinking. Number one, making it like a 3 or 4 part series where I actually, look at several weeks per episode. Because if it's a 16-week thing, I need a certain amount of time to get my low bar squat back, to really build my strength back up and peak appropriately so I can hit, PRs at numbers that I haven't hit before. I'll probably compete at the 181 weight class, which I have done in the past. But anyway, I could do something that's a little longer format, probably a little better edited, not quite as candid, or I could do a 16-part series if you guys like the short, more digestible clips. Like I said, just let me know. You could let me know in person. You can leave a comment, whatever it is that you think. Again, guys, though, just to recap, weight wasn't down, but I think that's because my digestion is a little slower than it should be, if you know what I mean.